Very good day and welcome to everyone joining us for the preview for the meeting at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, where the first race is due off at 12:30. It'll be run down the lane over 1,000 meters. Lovely to have Graham Hawkins in studio as usual. Welcome, Graham. Nice to be in studio, not on the line.
Yeah, it's nice to be here in the studio. It's nice to be here in Durban, but I will be flitting backwards and forwards, so occasionally I'll be on the line still.
Enjoyed some wonderful weekend racing?
The weekend racing was fabulous. A wonderful turnout, good vibe on course, and a great start to Champion Season 2023.
Well, let's get straight into the action for the meeting at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, where the opener, the odds-on favourite is number 4, Mojo Man, and that is the Vaughan Marshall inmate who gets the blinkers, drops back to the trip of 1,000 metres. And just looking at the betting, Graham, 7 to 10 Mojo Man, and the market danger is the first timer, number 2, Yamadori, a Lancaster bomber, out of the Trippy Mare One Fine Day, so you'll know a lot about the breeding there. But let's touch off with Mojo Man. Dropping to the 1,000 with blinkers could be the winning recipe.
He's got all the form in the world. The form has been franked in each and every one of his races. There have been direct winners from all 4 of his starts. He's very quick. The blinkers will make him even sharper, one would imagine. So he looks to get off the mark here. I think that Yamadori, his market rival, the first timer by Lancaster Bomber that you referred to, is going to have to be pretty sharp to match strides with Mojo Man first time out. There's another first timer, number 3, Ging Viserys, who's by Give Me the Green Light. The rest of the field have all run and are pretty moderate, well exposed, don't offer too much. So it does look as if it's Mojo Man's race for the taking, and certainly presents himself as a solid bipod banker.
Just looking at the comments in the computer form, Yamadori, Justin Snaith's team, taking on older horses, but could surprise.
Yeah, look, Justin is always a little cautious with his 2-year-olds. You know, he's got so many of them, and but clearly, you know, this has got a pedigree to die for, being by Lancaster Bomber out of One Fine Day. So you've got to respect the fact that there are 2 first-timers with very nice pedigrees, but Mojo Man certainly brings the right form into the race.
Let's go on to race number 2. So race number 1, Mojo Man, will be the start of a lot of doubles, trebles, and the all-to-comes, and hopefully comes through for you as the punter. Moving on to race number 2, where they'll go around the turn over 1,400 metres, and here's where the draw will come into play. Number 9, Diamond Rock, is currently 16 to 10. Number 3, Zumi, is at 5 to 2. Graham, I'm leaning slightly towards number 3, Zumi, because of the draw and the experience factor. However, if you look at Diamond Rock's 2 runs to date, a lot of improvement still to come.
Diamond Rock's form lines are interesting because obviously the feature race today is the Winter Nursery, and Jewel Cat and Future Variety are running in the feature races. On debut, Diamond Rock finished behind Jewel Cat, as did Future Variety. He ran second to Jewel Cat on that occasion, and then got very close to Future Variety, and there have been winners from that form line. Monumentals come out to win from that form line. So you've got to respect Diamond Rock. But Zumi also has shown really good ability. Now, this is one of these restricted maiden juvenile plates, so carries a 200,000 Rand prize money. So you know why these guys are targeting these kind of races. Zumi does have the better draw. I'm going to throw both into the bipot, not taking any chances here. There's some tricky handicaps to come. So I'm going to throw 3 and 9 into the bipot. I think that should get you through. Obviously, Ozark can continue to improve, and number 6, Lindbergh, has scope for improvement. And I think that number 7, Prince of Denmark, is one that you should consider for trifectas and quartets. I think there's possible improvement to come from the 2-year-old son of Duke of Marmalade. So you're in the camp of Zumi. I'm marginally in the camp of Diamond Rock, but really, I'm not trying to split them. I'm going to put both in the bipot.
Just a quick question on Zumi. Diamond Rock's going to love the step up in distance. What's your take on Zumi going the extra? That's my only slight question.
Shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. He's nicely drawn. He could well get the run of the race. Not sure who's going to make the pace. Last time out, Ozark came from quite some way off them. Diamond Rock probably sit in from off the pace of that wide draw. So tactics are going to play a role here, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it. So who makes the first move might get home first. But Zumi should have no problem in getting home over 1,400 metres.
There we heard from Graham Hawkins, both runners to throw into the exotics as we move on to race number 3. This is the Cape Turf Club Maiden Juvenile Plate. For the fillies over 1,400 metres, they'll do battle. At the top of the betting board is number 6, Quick Trip, currently anti-post 22-10, and the market rival is number 13, Royals. Quick Trip's drawn at 6, and Royals is drawn at 13. Looking at number 13, Royals, Graham, that would be my first selection. Obviously has the form, just the draw to negate.
Yeah, Glenn Cotson must be pulling his hair out. He's got 5 runners in the race, but the 2 principals are drawn 13 and 14, Royals and Green Valkyrie, both of which have got the form to be a fact here. Quick Trip was really disappointing last time. You know, in the penultimate start, she ran Distant Winter to a half length. Distant Winter's favourite for the Winter Nursery later on in this card. The third horse on that occasion was 5 lengths back. And then Quick Trip came out and ran an absolute stinker. Admittedly, Baltic Secret was very impressive, and we'll see Baltic Secret also in the Winter Nursery, which is shaping up to be a very competitive race. I didn't like the way Quick Trip moved to the gates last time either. She didn't impress me going to the gates, but she's clearly a lot better than her last run. Going the 1,400 metres as opposed to the minimum trip of 5 furlongs might be in her favour. Certainly the pedigree suggests it will be. So you have to decide as to whether you're going to give number 6 Quick Trip another chance or not. You've mentioned Royals and obviously Green Valkyrie, both from the Glen Cotson stable, drawn towards the outside. The mystery horse in the race is clearly number 2, Miracle in Motion. A very well-bred daughter of Vercingetorix, Richard Fourie and Justin Snaith from a good draw. So I'm taking no chances in this leg of the bipod. I'm going to include all of numbers 2, Miracle in Motion, the first timer, 6, Quick Trip. I'm even going to include number 4, Glowari, and number 13, Royals. I think Glowari might also have some scope for improvement. The Candice Bass Robinson trained daughter of Water Winter from a neat draw. Looks like it's ready to improve over this trip. Has had 3 starts over 5 furlongs and should go well over this. Not an easy race.
100% right. One of those races, as you heard from Graham, watch them go down to the start, see how they're striding out, and then you can make your final decisions. Moving along to race number 4, where they'll do battle down the straight. It's over 1,000 meters, so they'll jump, the speed will be on, and then we'll see who comes out best. At this time of the recording, number 7, Elusive Traders, around 4-1, with number 7, Piroshka, and number 6, Bluff on Bluff. Number 1, Trivial Matters, around 9-2, so there's not much separating them in the market here. And when you look at the conditions of the race, when you look at the best weighted column, you could throw a T-tail over about 6 runners.
It's a very tough race to analyse. You look at the form lines, they're so closely handicapped to each other, it's impossible to nail your colours to the mast. And the betting suggests that. It's a small field of 8 horses, and they're just about betting 4-1 the field. I have made Elusive Trader my first choice. Richard Fourie and Greg Enyon team up with the son of Elusive 40. He is getting on a bit. He's 7 years of age, but he loves it when the sting is out of the ground. And I think, obviously, I'm not sure how the weather is going to turn out at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. We're recording this the day before, but we know that the sting is out of the ground. The firm fast going is a thing of the past for him for a few months now, and he's going to love those conditions. But Trivial Matter, I think, is very much alive, as is the consistent Bluff on Bluff. And Tchaikovsky is the biggest price horse in the race at 12-1. I even give that a bit of a chance. So I'm going to include numbers 1, 6, and 7 in my bipot. Okay. But I think from a jackpot and a pick 6 permutation point of view, Dean Street can win it. Piroshka can win it. Ragnar Lothbrok will also appreciate the sting out of the ground. Rod the Mod showed improvement last time out. So for me, from a jackpot and a pick 6 point of view, this is a big F. This is a field leg. Going to take my chances with at least numbers 1, 6, and 7 in this leg of the bipot.
That'll take us on to race number 5. Where number 2, She's My Captain, is currently at around 17-10 in the anti-post betting. Number 6, Pork de Vos, is at 3-1. And then number 3, Tuscan Gold, at around 9-2. You can get 7-1 and better the rest of the opposition. Another 1,000-meter trip. At this time of recording, number 1, Jury Duty, I believe, is an early scratching to take out number 1, Jury Duty. And it's quite interesting you mentioned this time of the year now, when the wetter conditions come, some of the horses will turn the form around.
Absolutely. A lot of these horses have been crying out for a bit of cut in the ground. And here's another interesting race. You've got She's My Captain at 17-10. Was a good winner last time out, brings good consistent form into the race, and clearly deserves a position at the top of the boards. But how she's at 17-10 and Palo Queen is at 8-1, is difficult to fathom, is difficult to understand. Palo Queen didn't surprise me last time. In fact, I made her the danger to She's My Captain in that race. She came out second best. So Craig Zaki retains the ride. He's only ridden the daughter of Pathfork once before. I think that's definitely very much alive. Tuscan Gold always does enough to keep you interested, and Sean Veal has been riding up a storm for Eric Sands. That's a team that seems to be working very well together. Pork de Var, well, I turned my back on her last time, too much to my chagrin. I don't know what to expect. She's not the most honest. She's not the most consistent around. She's certainly, if you like Tuscan Gold, you've got to like Pork de Vars. So my selections would be She's My Captain over Palo Queen, but I think it's going to be much closer between them. And I think Tuscan Gold is very much alive. So too Pork de Var. Can there be an upset? Yes, but I'm focusing my perms around those 4 horses.
If there were to be an upset, a horse like number 10, Masked Vigilante, if you look earlier in the form, was running in the Ameritrade at 92s, the 80s, behind the likes of Dean Street and those type of horses. 116 days off the track, so the well-being's got to be taken on trust if you're looking for the lurker.
We have been waiting for Masked Vigilante to deliver his best form. He keeps coming down the ratings. He's dropped another 4 points. He's going to win a race one of these days because on handicap, we know he's better than that. We know somewhere within him is better than a 68. So if he decides to turn it on after a short spell off the track, then he can certainly win it.
Right, let's go on to race number 6. Once again, down the straight. It'll be over 1,200 meters. And just having a look, a small field has been assembled where number 3, Benika, is trading at around 28 to 10. 33 to 10 about number 1, Miss Marguerite, and then 7 to 2, number 4, Allende. Queen of Sparta, number 6, is at 9 to 2. Let's start with number 3, Benika, who shoulders the 60 kilograms. When you look at her overall form, she's got to be a big runner.
She is a big runner, and she often finds betting support, as we know. She represents a Richard Fourie, Justin Snaith combination. She's won 4 times, so she knows how to win this daughter of Jackson, and we know she's got ability. She's been given a little bit of relief by the handicapper. She's down to a 94, but I don't think that Benika can be relied on. I think it's another, don't be fooled by these small fields. These small fields are very tricky. They can produce any kind of a result. I think Brendan Gayard has been, he's nailed his colours to the mast. He's made Miss Marguerite the nap of the day in the computer form, which I think is quite brave, and he might be right. I like a little bit of number 5, Spy Wing. I think now that the give is in the ground, and she showed a glimpse of her previous form last time out when running second and neck to Symphony of Light. I think that Spy Wing can build on that. I'm taking the view that Allende might be better around the turn these days. I don't know what to expect from Allende. She pulled up a bit distressed from her last start, a previous run at Hollywoodbets Durbanville when second to What Estate. That form brings her into the race, but whether she's going to reproduce that kind of form down the lane over 1,200 meters at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, I don't know. I think even Sonic Burst, watch out, this is a wet weather specialist. And, she's won 5 races, Sonic Burst. She's the biggest outsider in the field. But if you study her wet weather form and the kind of form she showed this time last year, we spoke about earlier, a horse that could suddenly show improvement. Maybe not to win it, but certainly to be involved somewhere along the line. I'm going to include numbers 1, 3, and 5 in my bipod, Miss Marguerite, Benika, and Spy Wing. If pressed for a marginal first choice, I'd go with Spy Wing, but it's another trappy, small field, but a very trappy handicap.
I like the way you mentioned number 7, Sonic Burst, because I also like a bit of her. She's taken on some neat opposition. Rio Karori, although well beaten, she faded late last time.
It's a massive drop in class from that.
And look earlier on behind Princess Keller. So she's taken on talented opposition, and at around 12 to 1, definitely worth throwing into the exotic. So there we go, Masked Vigilante. We're looking for him to bounce back to his form. If not on this occasion, next time out, and then include Sonic Burst. Moving on to race number 7. This is over 1,100 meters, the in-between trip, and they're betting 3 to 1 the field with number 2, Distant Winter at 3 to 1, 33 to 10, number 9, Baltic Secret. Future Variety is priced up at 4 to 1. This is the Grade 3 Winter Nursery. Graham, you know them well. I'm going to leave it to you.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. It's a good race. It's a race of the battle of the sexes, as I've described it. There are 5 fillies and 4 colts and geldings in the race. I was really impressed with the way Baltic Secret came out and won. I know she was friendless in the market. She blew out to 12 to 1, but she galloped them into the ground on debut. Now, How solid that form is going to turn out to be is impossible to know, because we do know that Distant Winter is very talented. She's twice run a close second to Winter Cloud, who came out and impressed us on her KZN debut. So the fillies might have the upper hand, because even October Morn was well back to win her second start. She's got a lovely pedigree, being by Trippy out of Miss October. Very, very nice pedigree, so she could be a factor. Of the colts, probably Future Variety and Jewel Cat and Dumbledore. Those are the ones, but I'm going to take my chances here and go with number 9, Baltic Secret. I've got to trust what I saw. And we don't want to hype up runaway juvenile winners, but she really stretched that field out. And a long way behind her was Quick Trip, that was the same race. And Quick Trip had previously run a half a length second to Distant Winter. So I'm going to go with Baltic Secret, not with a great deal of confidence, at the expense of Distant Winter, because all of Candice Bass-Robinson's runners are alive. So for me, it's Baltic Secret to beat home Distant Winter, then a toss-up for third and fourth between Future Variety and October Morn. I'm narrowing it down to those 4, but I guess you've got to have a measure of respect for both Jewel Cat and Dumbledore.
Race number 8, we step into the territory over 1,400 meters, the Hollywoodbets Bright Future Class 4. And this will be an interesting race over the 1,400 meter trip. And I've nailed my colours to the mast here with one of the better bets on the card at around 4-1, being number 3, Silent Trigger, ahead of number 9, To the Moon and Back. So number 3, Silent Trigger, I believe over the course and distance, 7 runs, a victory, a second, a third, and 3/4, and a victory in the wet. So for me, number 3, Silent Trigger at 4-1. I make this with Mojo Man, one of perhaps the better bets on the card.
Yeah, I saw your suggested best bets, that Mojo Man and Silent Trigger are the 2 first and last races. You're certainly entitled to like Silent Trigger, and very much forms part of the shortlist. You know, obviously the obvious danger is To the Moon and Back. You talk about ratings drop from a 90 down to 78. They met each other last time out on the 28th of March. And in fact, To the Moon and Back finished marginally in front of Silent Trigger. So again, there shouldn't be too much to choose between Silent Trigger and To the Moon and Back. And quite honestly, although you've nailed your colours to the mast, if you're playing your pick 6s and jackpot 2s, you might well get away with just including the 2 horses, Silent Trigger and To the Moon and Back. To the Moon and Back has always had a bit of a reputation. He's often been well fancied and is often disappointed. But I think of this current mark of 78, To the Moon and Back is the one that you've got to fear most as far as Silent Trigger is concerned. So they're definitely the top 2 in the race for me, and I think the winner should come from one of those 2. If there's to be any other winner, it would come as a bit of a surprise to me. The one horse that I'd have a little bit of respect for, even though it's clearly not in the market, it's at 20-1, could be anything, is World's Best. Not a bad run behind Future Pearl, who just came out and, of course, won the Gold Bowl. Hasn't run since November. All 4 of its previous runs in the Highveld. So first run for Des McLaughlin. Could be better than we think. Maybe one for trifectas and quartets on having a nice return to racing and enjoying the softer ground at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. But I think it's a match between Silent Trigger and To the Moon and Back. And I hope you're right.
Well, thanks very much for all the input, Graham, as usual, and hopefully to all the punters out there, they get some insightful information, and with the wetter conditions out there, keep a close eye on those horses who like a little bit of the cut in the ground, and wait for the final declarations before you get your bets on. As far as the suggested bets for the meeting go, I've gone with 2 runners on the card. I believe that I'm going to try a double with 2 best bets, and Graham's guided you through horses that you can include in the buy pot and some lurkers we can throw into the pick 6. When it comes down to the 2 bets for me, it'll be the best bets, race 1, number 4, Mojo Man, and then race 8, number 3, Silent Trigger. More a value each way bet, but I've elected to make it a best bet with To the Moon and Back. Those are the 2 runners who should fight out the lucky last. Thanks very much for joining us, and hopefully you're in the winner's enclosure.